Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Welcome to Moment of Clarity. Thanks for joining me today. I got a lot of stories for you. I've been talking a lot about de-dollarization, the many nations around the world standing up against the U.S. economic stranglehold that is on them. And I got videos of a video of African leaders celebrating the de-dollarization in many of their countries, or a path towards de-dollarization. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Cornel West, some updates on him running for president, and a lot more. Some about Ukraine. It's all coming your way. Please hit subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please hit a thumbs up or a knee or an elbow or whatever it is on your platform. And today I also have a special guest, your friend and mine from the good old Redacted Tonight days, Jafar Khan.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Lee.
And no, he's not just holding a raisin in front of his face for the whole hour. It's a microphone.
It's an adorable little microphone. Happy to be here.
It's to make you look huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought I'd have you on so we could chit chat and we could go over the stories together some.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I miss the Redacted days, even though you could argue I was one who took the show down, I did just join and then all of a sudden no more Redacted. So
I mean,
sorry to everyone for that.
It very well could have been why the U.S. government decided.
It was definitely that.
It was the time. All right, well, let's get to this. I'll probably be toggling the different squares and things, trying to figure out what works best here. But how about that? So this is a video of African leaders, and I'm gonna play that and let people hear his speech, a brief moment of it, about the U.S. dollar and the role it plays.
From Djibouti selling to Kenya, or traders from Kenya selling to Djibouti, have to look for US dollars. How is US dollars part of the trade between Djibouti and Kenya? Why?
Good question.
And we are saying that today, Afri-Exim Bank have given us a mechanism where traders in our continent can trade in their goods and services, and the Africa-Exim Bank will settle payments in local currency. That is why Kenya champions the Pan-African payment and settlement system that is done by our own institution, the Afri-Exim Bank. Why, members? Why is it necessary for us to buy things from Djibouti and pay in dollars? Why? There is no reason. And we are not against the US dollar. We just want to trade much more freely. Let us pay in US dollars what we are buying from the US. But what we are buying from Djibouti, let's use local currency.
Yeah, so standing ovation there. And I think the key word is why. Why do we have to go around getting US dollars in order to buy and sell things in our own African countries? And of course, the answer is the US has big guns and just kind of forced that system on the world.
Yeah, that's a lot of coups there you're seeing. I mean, the CIA, we're gonna see some job listings pretty soon from the CIA's website.
Yeah, apparently not enough coups have taken place recently. We've got a lot of coups on back order in Africa, and Jafar's frozen, at least on my screen. But we've got a lot of coups on back order, and a lot of these places will need to soon find democracy and freedom. The U.S. will have to bring it their direction.
Yeah, they said they want to trade freely. I was confused. I was like, I thought we love free trade. It didn't make any sense. That guy was not making any sense to me. I don't know who that guy was.
Yeah, we love free trade as long as it's using U.S. dollars. So many of you know I've talked about this several times, many times, that the U.S. dollar has its power. The reason we can print an unlimited number of U.S. dollars, and it doesn't lose its power for the most part. We increased the monetary supply by 20% just during the pandemic, and the reason is because of the petrodollar. Most oil is bought and sold in dollars, and the US dollar is the global reserve currency. So that's the reason you have Djibouti and Kenya and other countries. They all trade in dollars. And for a long time, the countries that were standing up outside of that system were getting invaded, obliterated, cooed by the US, Iraq, Syria, Libya.
Coincidentally.
It was just pure coincidence. Absolutely.
One of life's great mysteries.
Yeah, exactly. Giant coincidence that every time these countries would drop the dollar, the U.S. saw the need to invade or crush them. And, in some states, in some cases, we actually created a failed state, put in our puppet government or whatever else. Libya,
they had dictators, Lee. Those, we all know, those were the only countries who have dictators.
Yes. Only the ones we hate have dictators. That is absolutely right. But nowadays, we still try and coup a lot of the countries that stand up against the U.S. dollar. However, we do it more there's more lawfare going on. There's fewer bullets to the head. And I think the U.S. is losing a lot of our power, which is for the world a good thing. And that's why you see these African leaders now actually giving speeches with standing ovations where they say, why are we using U.S. dollars? I forget. Why? Yeah. So this is another big moment in the ongoing de-dollarization that has been taking place. I also wanted to show along those lines, even Reuters was willing to cover this one. Exclusive: Pakistan paid in Chinese currency for discounted Russian oil. So this is a story showing that they now have evidence that Pakistan, this just came out yesterday, that Pakistan is paying for oil not in dollars. Pakistan paid for its first government-to-government import of discounted Russian crude oil in Chinese currency. The South Asian country's petroleum minister said on Monday a significant shift in its U.S. dollar-dominated export payments policy. So this is another big step around the world of countries, many of which we consider kind of allies, but like another one I'm about to bring up. But these countries are standing up to the U.S. hegemony and going outside of the U.S. dollar, and it's a good thing for most of the world.
Yeah, this one surprised me. I don't know much about the country that I'm from. It's pretty sad, actually, but yeah, like I've known vaguely that we're supposed to be allies with Pakistan. They help in the war on terror, and
they were always right there, right? Sending
and I know between Pakistan and India, like Pakistan has generally aligned itself more with Western markets than India. So I was surprised by this.
Yeah, there's been an ongoing kind of push-pull between Pakistan and the U.S. We also
you could say that, yeah.
We also it seems had at least a backstage access to the soft coup against Imran Khan.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've our fingers are, the burned off fingerprints of the CIA are all over Pakistan.
Oh yeah.
But another country also, let's see if I can find it, pissing off the U.S. royally, is Egypt, which is known as a great ally of the U.S. Egypt is looking into joining BRICS and dropping the U.S. dollar in trade. Egypt is planning to drop the U.S. dollar in bilateral trade with several states of the BRICS group of emerging economies. Egyptian Supply Minister Ali, do you want to pronounce that? Are you better at pronouncing that?
I'm sorry. Try your best.
Ali Moselli revealed on June 12th. Cairo is specifically looking to use local currencies to pay for imports from India, China, and Russia, 3 members of the BRICS bloc, which also includes Brazil and South Africa. Speaking of coincidences, it's a coincidence, right, that we get involved in a proxy war in Ukraine, right, as Russia is heavily involved in creating BRICS, right? Now, Jaffer's frozen again. Must be cold in his apartment. But yes, giant coincidence. There's no connection at all between the proxy war that the U.S. created in Ukraine and...
Yes, we live in such a coincidental world, Lee. It's amazing to marvel at sometimes.
It is amazing to see all the coincidences the U.S. is involved in. To continue from the article, there are discussions so that we can trade in local currencies. The news was followed by an announcement from Russia's ambassador to Egypt, who on June 14th said Cairo has officially applied to join BRICS. Egypt has applied to join the BRICS group because one of the initiatives BRICS currently participates in is to move as much trade into alternative currencies as possible. BRICS officials say that at least 19 countries have contacted the group about becoming members. The UAE, Argentina, Algeria, Bahrain, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and Iran are among the countries that have formally applied to join. The big one that is really upsetting the U.S. is Saudi Arabia. How dare they go into a monetary system outside of the U.S. petrodollar?
Yeah, we're Gulf allies. How could they do this to us?
Yeah, the 2 Gulf leagues just joined. That really should have done it. But this is a massive global shift, what's happening here. And it gets essentially no coverage in the mainstream media, or when it does, they'll cover that like, oh, Saudi Arabia sold something outside of dollars, and they act like it's a small, tiny event that took place. But this is a massive shift towards a multipolar world that is really important and is kind of at the center of everything. And we've seen how well things have gone in a unipolar world, with the U.S. deciding all foreign policy, deciding which countries are allowed to exist and which ones deserve to be blown up, deciding which civilians deserve to live and which ones should be blown up. It has not gone well. The environment is not doing well under this unipolar world. So yeah, this spells bad things for the U.S. economy, but it spells really good things for the world. And in fact,
well, the U.S. hegemony has gone well for an extremely tiny fraction of elites, and you're always ignoring those elites, Lee. I've noticed that about you.
That's true. I had forgotten about their needs.
They have families. They have terrible children.
Their desires. They might have to let go of the car that parks inside of the yacht that parks inside of the other yacht. They might have to put that one up for sale on eBay. But the truth is, your average U.S. citizen is also being crushed under this current system. So it's like you say, oh, it'll be bad for the U.S. economy. Well, yeah, but right now is bad for the U.S. people. I mean, you have 2/3 of Americans say they had trouble paying for necessities last month.
Yeah, y'all see my room. You see the lighting. What's going on here? You see this tiny little microphone? It's not going well out here.
Can everyone please donate to get Jaffer a larger microphone?
Yeah, someone help me.
But anyway, so I wanted to bring that video of this is kind of the next step of de-dollarization, African leaders standing up, fighting back, and I know he throws in there so that he doesn't have the red dot from the CIA sniper rifle. He throws into his speech, "We're not opposed to the U.S. dollar.
We like the dollar.
We love the dollar.
What's here, what goes.
We just don't want to use it." Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this is huge. All right, well, let's move on to the next story. This is a big one, I know, for a lot of the people watching right now. So I covered last week, Cornel West is running for president. A lot of people are huge fans of his. I count myself as one. He's done amazing things, especially over the past 10 to 15 years, and so he announced that he was running on the People's Party. However, he has now announced a switch, which came seemingly pretty quick. Let's see here. Cornel West says, in the spirit of a broad united front and coalition strategy, I am pursuing the nomination of the Green Party for President of the United States. Go to CornelWest24.com for more information to continue to support this unprecedented effort to empower precious poor and working people here and abroad. I thank the volunteers of the People's Party for the initial launch. So this is exciting a lot of people, because this is, a lot of people pointed out when he announced that he was running on the People's Party that they, at the moment, only have ballot access in 3 or so states. And so the uphill climb to get more ballot access was going to be immense. But so many people are excited about this, saying, oh, he's got a better shot in the Green Party. Others who maybe worked very hard for the People's Party are upset about this. I did hear an interview on Black Agenda Report with Cornel West, and, they didn't spend much time on it. It wasn't like, why'd you leave the People's Party? But he did mention that he's like, well, there's a lot of internal squabbling and stuff. And so I want to just make the campaign something that can focus on the issues. And so that was something that he said.
Seems like a pragmatic move.
Seems pragmatic. Are you a fan?
I love Cornel West. That time we did that show with him, and yes, he referred to me on stage as Brother Jaffer. That was the greatest moment of my life. So thank you for that.
I mean, I can start calling you Brother Jaffer if it helps.
Yeah, please do. I demand it from everyone, but he's the only one who's listened. But yeah, I love Cornel West, so I'm excited.
Yes, we did do a benefit for Julian Assange in New York City with Cornel West and Roger Waters and Randy Credico. The thing I found perhaps weirdest about that night is, of all that lineup, I was the one being protested out front.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
It was a guy with a sandwich board like, Lee Camp's a fraud.
Yeah, that was a badge of honor for you to wear.
And then I didn't see it, but apparently Cornel West, who is like, he's open to engaging with anyone. He's been on all these right-wing shows, and he's always, it's like, listen, brother Tucker Carlson, you may be a fascist, but you're my brother.
He's a true Christian in that way. He really embodies that. So I appreciate that about him.
He feels he can speak to anyone. So he walked up to this kind of loon who was screaming about me and everything. And he was like, and he goes, my brother, can we talk about that? And the guy switches immediately from Lee Camp's a fraud to Cornel West is a fraud. Cornel West. And Cornel apparently was just like, all right, and walked away.
Yeah, that was my first time meeting him. He was walking in and he was like, that guy was crazy.
The guy even managed to break Cornel West.
Yeah.
We will be, speaking of running for president, and you're helping me out a little with this, I'm going to be the campaign manager for a grayish brown rock I found in my yard. And we will be announcing that run pretty soon. So
very excited about that campaign.
I mean, at the very least, he's not a war criminal.
Yeah. Not a war criminal. Never voted for NAFTA. That's huge.
That's a big one. That's a big one. But I want to show you everybody how the liberal media that considers itself left wing when it's not is already on the offensive, attacking Cornel West. This is from MSNBC. Apparently, The Nation did kind of a hit piece as well, but Cornel West's, quote, leftist presidential bid has right-wing DNA. I don't
How
like.
dare MSNBC accuse someone else of being a fake leftist?
I know.
That is wild.
This is the channel that has manufactured consent to kill millions. And here they are like, well, I think he's actually a right winger. So then this guy, this pathetic writer, attempts to go through the ways he knows that Cornel West is actually a right winger, ostensibly leftist academic Cornel West. And it's like he comes to the conclusion that Cornel West once supported some, it's called the classic learning test in Florida that was put together by Ron DeSantis. So because he said something positive about this learning test, that
he seemed to just support like this particular alternative to the SATs. So I don't know much about it, but
I don't know hardly anything about it. But it's like, even if he, let's say he were wrong, I don't know enough about it to say. But let's say he was wrong to endorse this thing. That does not make him Ron DeSantis. It's pure idiocy. Then he goes on to say, plus he launched his campaign on Russell Brand's show, a comic who's known for spreading right-wing conspiracy theories. It's not actually true. I mean, yes, Russell Brand sometimes will jump into the clickbait with certain conspiracies, but if you look at what Russell Brand has said, like lay it all out over years and years, it's at minimum left-wing and at maximum like leftist anti-capitalist. So the idea that Russell Brand is some far right winger is pure lunacy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you saw what they talked about in that interview, it's like how to create peace, how to not have war anymore, like how to care for people. All those things MSNBC doesn't give a fuck about.
Right-wing lunacy.
Yeah. And so this was the entirety of his evidence. That
was the other thing too. It's like I'm getting ready to like the intro. It's like setting me up for like this like thorough hit piece, because you know from this just the beginning he's about to go in and then it's 4 paragraphs long. Yeah,
and you're waiting to hear like, oh, he signed a $500,000 deal with ExxonMobil or something like.
Exactly.
Nope, not at all. But this, to me, this really just shows how pathetic our mainstream media is, how right-wing it is. I mean, the fact that they cannot stomach for one day, I mean, I think he'd been running for one day, that an actual leftist, that an actual anti-capitalist, that an actual anti-imperialist could run for president. And they spent all of a few hours before unleashing hit pieces. So did The Nation, apparently, put out a hit piece against Cornel West. And it's just pathetic, and it shows they're not left wing. They're not slightly left wing. What are they going to tell you? The alternative is vote for Joe Biden, Mr. Left Winger Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is pathetic. It's funny, I guess, how predictable it is, but the execution of that article is just hilarious. It's like 4 sentences long. It's so short. It's like the best you can do.
This is what passes for research in today's mainstream media. I went and I looked at his Twitter thread, and I found one thing he said positive about Ron DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, my favorite line, he's like, mentions the People's Party and links to like sometime they like had like an agreement on like one thing with Tucker Carlson. And then he goes, so yeah, there's that. Just like cringe millennial speak, passing for journalism. Just like awkward. Dude, quit your job. This sucks.
Yeah, there was, but he puts the 3 W's in awkward. So
yeah.
I feel like that really sells it. So yes, to sum up here, Cornel West has switched to the Green Party. There is a primary process in the Green Party, so he'll be running for their nomination, and people can discuss in the chat whether you'd like to see that succeed, where you stand on Cornel West. All right, I want to get into I want to get into some news about Ukraine. The U.S. is sending depleted uranium shells over there, which is fucking horrifying. And yeah, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about Zelensky's top aide congratulating the mainstream media for basically running propaganda for them, and some other stuff. We got a bunch of stories coming up. That's all going to continue at rumble.com/Lee Camp. So if you're watching on Rumble, it all stays the same. If you're watching at leecamp.net, it stays the same. But the other platforms will disappear here in a minute. So join us at rumble.com/Lee Camp. Jaffer, while I do that, you want to tell people where they can find your stuff?
Well, since Redacted ended, I've been picking up the pieces of my life.